Hello, welcome to my tutorial, and in this tutorial I'm gonna model a city like this in a sort of procedural way. And I've made a similar tutorial in the past, but this one is slightly more advanced. So as you can see, all the materials are there, so we just need to apply some textures for more details. So basically, to model something like that, I will open up a new scene, and as always, I'm going to start from plane. And first of all, I will reduce the subdivisions a little bit and start to make some basic shapes. For instance, I can just extrude some of the edges to make it look a bit more organic. What's important is to make every faces somewhat similar in terms of size, so everything is nice and even. So once you got that sort of shape, you can stretch it out depending on what kind of proportion you want for the blocks. And now I'm gonna add divisions, and if I go to attribute editor, I can change it to exponential, and I will start to add more subdivisions here. So the number of faces here is gonna be the number of blocks. So here we got our base mesh now, and I'm gonna delete history and go to the outliner and make a duplicate, and I can hide the other one, and if I extrude it again, I can turn keep faces together off and add some offset, so that is gonna be our blocks. So I'm gonna make it slightly smaller than that. Okay, that looks like a reasonable size. So now I can invert selection and get rid of the selected faces. I don't think it's working properly. Let me just try it again. Alright. Now with these faces, I will again go to the face selection mode, select everything, and extrude it again. And I'm gonna extrude it downwards, something like that, and delete the selected faces again. So the bottom is actually empty. But all the normals are inverted, so I'm gonna select everything and go to mesh display, then reverse. So now the normals are back to normal. So now what I can do is reduce the selection by pressing shift and comma. Actually, it's easier to do it in edge selection mode, so I'm gonna go to edge selection mode again and reduce selection by pressing shift and comma again. So only the top loop is selected. Now what I can do is I can invert selection again and add bevel. I think it's working slightly differently compared to the other version of Maya. Alright, let me try it again. So if I reduce selection 2 times, actually you could do select similar and invert selection and add bevel. Alright, let me delete history before I do this. Delete history and go to edge selection mode again. Now all the edges are already selected, so all I have to do is bevel. So we can have some nicely rounded corners. You can add more segments to make it a bit smoother. Alright. Now let me select everything again, and let's assign a new material. I'm gonna give it a distinctive color such as red. And now I can select everything and reduce selection again, shift comma again, and bevel these edges. Alright, it's a bit slow but works. So I'm gonna give it about 0.2 of fraction. Okay. Now let's delete history since it's slowing down. And again, select everything and reduce selection 2 times. I'm gonna extrude it again, and this time I will add some offset there. Just a little bit, and extrude it again, add some thickness there, add some offset there. So this is gonna be the pavement. So again, I can grow selection, assign a new material for the pavement, and I'm gonna give it another color such as yellow, and reduce selection again, assign a new material, another material with another color such as green. Alright, now we got those blocks ready. So we have the original base mesh, so I'm gonna do another duplication, and basically I'm gonna do the same thing. So I'm gonna go to the edit mode and select everything, extrude it, turn key faces together off, and add some offset to cover all of the road area. So if I do that, then we got all of the rows nicely covered, so we can get rid of the block area. So we can just delete, and you can just place it nicely somewhere like that. And again, I'm gonna assign a new material. I'm gonna make it a bit darker. Okay. Finally, we need some buildings, obviously, so I'm gonna duplicate the base mesh again, and this time I'm gonna go to the wireframe mode, and again I'm gonna go to face selection mode and extrude it, turn key faces together off, add some offset. This time I only want to cover those inner block area, so somewhere about that is gonna work. Again, I'm gonna invert selection and delete those inverted selection, and let me go back to shaded display. Oh, I think they got rid of everything. So let me invert selection again and delete. Alright, Maya's being a little glitchy today. So inverse selection, let me delete history. I think that's causing the problem. So delete the outer part of the selected faces, and you can just place them on top of the blocks. And now I can add some more divisions there. And this time I'm gonna use linear division and add 3 for each directions. And again, let me delete history and go to face selection and reduce selection, and I'm gonna get rid of the center face. Then I can again select everything and extrude it and give it some offset, something like that. And again, I can inverse selection, get rid of that. Actually, it's causing the problem again. So let me delete history and delete the selected area. Again, select everything. Extrude it again. Add some thickness. Give it a little height there, and that's gonna be their base height. So to randomize the height a little bit, I will use transform. But before I do that, let me assign a new material. So I'm gonna go to object mode and assign a new material and give it some color, such as blue. Okay, now back to the face selection mode. I'm gonna select every roof of those buildings and go to transform and increase the random value. So for instance 1, so I can just transform face, and you're gonna see this cursor here. So you can just drag it up slightly to give it a slight randomness, something like that. And now I can start to deselect some of those faces by holding Control and drag. And press G to repeat transform. I'm gonna give those buildings a little more height, something like that. And again, I can deselect more faces. So I have some faces selected in the central area. And again, press G to transform and give those buildings more height. You can just repeat this process. Just a bunch of extrusions basically. So I'm gonna do that. So we got pretty nice shape here. So again, let's select all of the buildings and decrease selection. I don't think it's working. Alright, let me delete history again. And actually we don't really need the bottom faces, so I will go to the side view and select everything and deselect the upper part, so only the bottom faces are selected, and delete them. Now I can select everything and decrease selection so the roofs are selected. Now I can give it a new material, something like that, and you could add more details on the roof by extruding it, for instance. There we go. Alright, this is pretty much it. So now you can select everything and delete history and probably group them. You could rename them, and you could just unwrap this using the automatic solution there, and you could assign some textures on the buildings and the roads and so on. So this is a simple method to model a city like this with a series of extrusions basically. So thanks for watching. Please like this video, and bye bye.